Perfect. So it started. All right. Thank you, Karisma, for joining me today. I just have a couple of questions. You went through the whole gut heal experience. You came in a very rough situation. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the whole experience of working together and where you were at and what you've achieved throughout your journey together. So the first question I want to ask you is can you share what life was like before you started working with me? Like, what were the big challenges you were facing, and what really happened for you to really, say, I need to get help from John. I need to figure out something here.
Yeah, I started having severe inflammation, gut inflammation, to the point where I had to, every time I ate something, I would get a flare up. It was really bad, and the doctors kind of neglected it for years. I went to the doctor. I told them I'm having stomach pain. My lymph nodes and stuff would start swelling up, and they just ignored me every single time. They were like, "Oh, that's normal. You're so young. There's no problem." And I had some really uncomfortable symptoms from the dysbiosis, and it was starting to affect almost every area of my body. I was having just really, really bad cystic acne. I couldn't, digest anything, absorb anything, and it was just super uncomfortable. I couldn't sleep sometimes. Eventually I had to get on medication to be able to sleep, and then the gut issues got really, really bad. And no matter how many colonoscopies, endoscopies the doctors did, they were like, "Oh no, just add more fiber to your diet. Take these peppermint pills." And it was just gaslighting on gaslighting. And it was super horrible, super isolating. And then eventually I ended up in the hospital. And you'd think that would be the end of my journey, where the doctors would kind of help me and take care of me. But no, they just made it worse. I was a victim of malpractice. It went on for another 2 years. I just kind of had to keep going, still live life. And I was just like, when is this going to end? What's the end result of this? And then I found you talking about these things that a lot of practitioners and people don't really know about or even talk about. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I could, work with this person and get in this program, maybe my issues will go away and I won't just have to suffer in silence and, with no one believing me, no one hearing me. And it ended up working out really well. The products, the diet, everything you put me on.
Perfect. I really appreciate that. And tell me a little bit more. You mentioned symptoms. How were these symptoms affecting your life? What kind of effect were all these things that you just mentioned causing you in your life?
It was causing me constipation, bloating. It was causing such bad inflammatory pain, to the point where I'd be crying, feeling like I'm gonna throw up, headaches, just really uncomfortable symptoms like that. My liver was really stagnant too. So I'm seeing all these changes, in my face and everything, wondering what's going on. Sometimes I'd even feel pain, in my neck. I just feel pain everywhere, horrible inflammatory pain, irregular bowel movements. Just the inflammation is such a, key highlight of my experience, because it was just so bad and so painful. I couldn't even eat anything besides fruit, really. Fruit was my go-to. I would avoid eating everything else just to have a flare up, fruit and salmon, and everything else would cause horrible inflammation. And I could not figure out why, for the life of me. It felt like I was trying to do everything right, follow restrictive diets, but it was all just to avoid that inflammation, because that inflammation was so painful. You could feel it in your stomach, your head, your gut. It was horrible. And it was almost every day. And I just had to go through these symptoms, and no one did anything about it.
That's I remember those early days. It was you were in rough shape, and it was really sad to see. And I've been in your shoes. I thank God I was able to pull myself out of it too. But being sick and struggling, and then feeling like you're hitting a proverbial brick wall from the people that you feel should be able to help you, is the most demoralizing thing. I lived it, so I can very much relate with, with the emotions you were probably going through. And speaking of emotions, like, how did you feel back then? Like, how did you feel emotionally with all of this experience and, being let down? How did it make you feel overall
It
with all
made
the
me
stuff you were struggling?
it made me feel horrible, honestly, because it's kind of like life, life I had to keep pushing through. Everybody expected that of me, and I felt super unheard, super stressed all the time. That was another thing, is like my anxiety was off the charts, and now it's so much better. And like finding out there's a biological root to these issues and that it wasn't just entirely me, like that was, mind blowing. Like you teaching me that, like I always check the biological root first, see if I can address it. And I had really bad sinus issues too. That was a huge thing. Sinus issues, um, even like rashes, just a lot of like issues with the immune system. It was very obvious to me that my immune system was struggling. I was always sneezing. People would be like, "Oh, do you have a cold?" And I'm like, "No, it's my immune system actually. It's not doing too well today." And you could just tell I was really sick. I was lethargic. I would sleep so much. These are just some other symptoms I wanted to mention as I think of them, because it was just a huge struggle on every front, you know. And I'm just so grateful that it's gotten so much better and I can live a more functional life.
Awesome. It's very inspiring, and I being able to see you go through that journey from A to Z. Obviously there's always more work to do to really become optimal, and I think it's going to be a lifelong journey for all of us, right? Being healthy is not an end, a destination. It's just a journey. It's something that you just do. It's a never-ending battle for really trying to thrive in your life. And unfortunately, our environment is so toxic, and there's a lot of things for most of us, it's an uphill battle to solve, especially if we don't have the right tools, especially if we just rely on a system that is just there to medicate us without really discovering or going deeper to figure out what the root cause was. So
Yeah, for sure.
on that aspect, I mean, what before you came to see me, like what were the things you had tried other than the medication? Was there anything else you had attempted before being like, look, I tried, I this is not working, I need to find something different?
Well, of course, I tried medical intervention, like with the doctors and stuff, and none of that stuff worked. Like peppermint pillows, for example, because when they finally did the colonoscopy, they were like, "Oh, just take peppermint pills," and the peppermint pills did not do anything. Like I still got inflammation. Sometimes it would even
Yeah.
get. Um, Other than that, I kind of had to be my own doctor, and I think that's what made it so hard because I didn't have all the knowledge I have now, thanks to you and your program. I had to do severe restrictive diets, and that did not end well for me because, blood sugar issues, like eventually it would just stop, like I would only be able to go like a week doing these diets,
Yeah.
and it felt so disempowering. That's basically it. I just have to say, like, restrictive diets, avoiding food, most food, and that was super hard. But that's basically the only thing I tried. I had my endoscopy, colonoscopy, but the doctors didn't do anything. They just gave you peppermint pills. They tried to give me like antibiotics and stuff, but all that did was cause more of a Herx reaction and cause more issues
Yeah.
and help because there was no binders, liver support, none of that. So it would
Yeah.
just,
Uh,
yep.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's fascinating, and unfortunately, we look at systems in traditional medicine. It's systems and organs are all looked separately. They're not the connection between each, and how one deficiency, a deficiency in one can cause a whole upstream effect and downstream effect into other organ systems. The gut is really the root of a lot of issues, as we discovered working together. But what really made you choose, and decide that working with me was necessary? Like, was there a specific moment that convinced you that, John, working with me I had the answer, I had a solution to you. Like, what was it that like made you kind of say, hey, I need to do this?
I think it was I was in a really rough spot. You know what I mean? Like I was getting another thing I tried was vitamin infusions at some point, and they helped for like a month before they were just depleted again. You know, like I'd know because like I'd leave the place glowing, you know, and then a month, 2 months later, I'd start getting really uncomfortable, like, you know,
Yeah,
acne, hormonal imbalance was crazy. And I just was so scared that something bad was going to happen to me because the worst already did, you know, and I just had to
yeah,
keep pushing through. For like 2 years after that hospitalization, 3 years, I had to still keep pushing through. And I was really honestly scared that something horrible was going to happen to me and nobody was going to do anything about it. Nobody was. So you were like my like last hope. I saw your content on social media, like on Twitter, and I was like, wow, this guy is talking about something that no one is talking about. You know, I had never seen anybody talking about it. And I was just like, this is exactly what I'm going through. This is exactly what I need. And this could be my last hope to like live a normal life. Like this could be a chance for me to, you know, get better. And I really wanted to get in the program and I did, and I'm just so grateful for it because I wouldn't know all the things I know now and I wouldn't be living a life where I don't have to worry about what I eat. So I'm just really grateful. So thank you, John.
my pleasure. Honestly, it's so fulfilling. Like, you know, hearing your story and hearing, you know, remembering that first meeting we had together and where you're at right now is just, it's what keeps me going. It's what inspired, you know, you are one of my biggest inspirations. I talk about you a lot in content. When I think of content right now, I think back of a lot of the things we went through
Mm-hmm.
together. It was not an easy journey. It was you know, it took a lot out of you to overcome this. So you know, you really deserve the most respect and the most praising in all this because you know, you really pushed through and you were a trooper. And I really respect people like yourself who, you know, in your mind, you committed to it. You were really sure that you know, you felt that hope finally after feeling hopeless. I know that hopeless feeling, I've lived it. I know how horrible it feels. So for you to
Yeah.
come from that other extreme, transmute that hopelessness into, you know, you know, pure vigor and pure ability to actually get this done and push through and go through all the difficult times. It was not an easy healing journey, right? So
Yeah.
you stuck to it and you were convinced, and because mentally, you know, in your mind, you really imagined being able to overcome this. I'm a big believer that the mind really, you know, helps you manifest things physically in the body as well. So you did what was necessarily physically, but you also mentally and mindset wise decided like, I need to heal. I need to overcome this. It's a life or death situation, right? Like what you were going through was very, very painful. You know, going to that hospital, really feeling that despair. You knew that it was like sink or swim at this point. So kudos to you for taking the action. And really, I think like on this point about gut heal, I mean, what was the biggest hesitation or concerns you had before starting gut heal, and like what made you say, hey, like I need to still do this no matter what? Like what was the big hesitation for you?
The biggest issue was kind of like my immune system, you know,
Yeah,
like that was the biggest thing. And then of course like the gut issues, because anybody who struggles with stomach issues, I'm sure you can relate to this.
yeah,
It or is probably one of the worst things you could go through because anytime you eat, you get a flare up, you know, and
yeah,
that's, you know, eating becomes scary. It becomes a scary experience.
yeah,
So that's kind of like I just knew I had to do it. I felt like it was my only shot. Like that's genuinely how it felt because the doctors weren't doing anything. They even told me in the hospital, you have the weakest immune system for a 23-year-old, and they did all kinds of mess.
mm,
So I just was like, if this, like, you know, there's no other option, like there's nothing else that can help me. Like they've proved that they're not going to do anything for me. Like I
yeah,
have to get this right. I have to. Like this is my only shot. You cannot miss this shot. You can't miss this opportunity. You have to make the most of it. And I really made all those changes to my diet. I wasn't really eating meat too much either, you know, and I incorporated that because that's how much trust I had in you, you know, because I felt like you really knew what you were talking about, you know, like you described everything so well, like on your in your content, and I just knew that if anybody was going to be able to help me in that time, like it was going to be you. And I'm glad that I made those changes, because these changes are something that I will carry with me into my life to upkeep my health and improve it
So
even. So
excellent. That's the whole point. That's really my goal with all of you is I want you to be ingrained with the tools and add stuff to your tool belt to always be able to maintain your health, upkeep vitality, keep thriving, keep getting healthier. It's a journey, right? It's a process, and it's never going to end. It's always going to be something that you're working on and that you're trying to perfect and keep on improving. So what was that? What would you say was the most surprising thing that you learned about this experience with me? Like what was really like your aha moment, with the struggles that you were going through? Like what was like, wow, like I wish I would have been told this earlier. Like what was the most surprising thing?
I think that the whole, like, the dietary changes was something so, that's really had lasting impacts on me. But at the time, like, it was just like supplements, you know what I mean? Knowing how they could work systematically to fix a problem as complex as this, because it was such a complex problem that the medical professionals don't even know what's going on, right? So I
Yeah.
think it was shocking to kind of see how these things work together and how they can help you detox these things out of you, like the comp I don't know, just kind of like the fact that herbs could do
Yeah.
the trick, systematically together they could help you get rid of this problem. And the nutrition element was also super interesting to me, and that's something that I still am fascinated by, how much these dietary changes and the way you taught me how to kind of like manage my blood sugar, keep my energy levels, you know sustained. That
Right.
was awesome for me, and it still is, because the way I'm getting protein three times a day, like that helps with my hormonal issues. Like I haven't had like my hormonal imbalances are doing so much better. That was also a game changer for me. So the herbs,
Excellent.
nutrition, the lifestyle advice that you gave me, that was extremely helpful.
Excellent. And tell me about, the mold issue. I mean, you knew that discovering that felt like a whole new, almost like a red pill for you about what was going on. Share a little bit more about that. Like, how did you feel when we started doing detective work and figuring out that you were living in an environment that was, full of mold, and we had discovered in the end that there was a big, probably a big issue of mold illness that you were struggling with that was flying under the radar. Like, tell me a little bit more about how that felt and what you learned about that.
That was scary, but I knew I had to do something about it, which I literally got rid of that place, So I took it very seriously, but I was terrified, like the idea of the fact that this could be causing all my issues, because I think what had happened is my immune system was super weak, and that's when this stuff can kind of really affect you. You
Yeah.
know, I think that was the whole thing, is that it got me when I was really, really not doing too well, like lifestyle wise, nutrition wise, my immunity was super low. And it just was a huge problem for me, because of, I also have an autoimmune condition. So I assume that's why it impacted me so much. So that was just super terrifying. And I'm glad that we addressed that, because I really found a way forward.
Yeah. I mean, mold is very scary. It's something that I'm seeing so commonly now, mold illness in people. A lot of their symptomology and the struggles that they're going through in their health, whether it be autoimmune, whether it be insomnia, whether it be anxiety, stress, whatever you name it, at a certain point, if you do some detective work, you're going to discover that this person more often than not is going to have some sort of mold illness or some other pathogen. If it's not going to be mold, it's going to be a parasite, it's going to be a fungus, it's going to be something in your gut that affects your brain chemistry, affects the way you perceive your life, the way you live your life. I think that's something that a lot of you guys end up really taking home, right? Is understanding that really your gut health is the root of your vitality. A lot of the struggles that you go through, having a weak immune system comes from a poor gut health. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So if your gut's a disaster and the terrain of your body is unhealthy, well, your immune system is going to be affected, and then all of these horrible symptoms that you listed earlier in this conversation really are going to have a serious effect on your life that, they almost make life not worth living. It's so painful and so uncomfortable that, and I know in my own situation, when I went through this stuff, I always thought it was in my head. Like even the doctors were telling me it was in my head, but physically, internally, something was off. And what I discovered was that it wasn't in my head. There was literally a poison that my body was recognizing. This poison was causing a lot of issues to my health, to my brain, causing a lot of inflammation. Same thing with you, right? And it flew under the radar. And on blood work, oftentimes these things will show up as nothing. You'll do regular traditional blood work, and you come out clear, right? So that's the scary stuff, because I went through the same thing. And, if you don't turn the right stones, you're not going to find the treasure, right? And same thing when it comes to our health problems. Like if we just do the standard stuff because everybody else is doing it and that's how it goes, and this is the system and this is the process. Well, health and healing is really about going deep and really trying to not just look at symptomology, but what is causing these symptoms? Why, these symptoms don't just pop out of nowhere. There's going to be a root to them. So, I think that's why I love doing what I do, because I get, this is what you guys learn. This is what you learned over the process, Karisma. So, I'm happy that you did this, and it's awesome that you've really embodied this principle. But were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, while it was super scary, it was also really relieving to find the root cause, because like you said, with the tests and stuff, that was kind of hopeless. Like they kept saying like, oh, there's nothing wrong. But I knew there was something wrong. And you were the only person who really ever acknowledged that. So it was relieving, even though I was learning all these scary things that could go wrong with your body. It was relieving to know that I had someone who understood and someone who was determined to help me. So thank you again for that. And like I said, it's really helpful now. I use it in my day-to-day life, and you really do well, like with all the worksheets and things. You really do set up the program so nicely so that people can learn and they can, kind of fly on their own. So
Right, that's the whole point, right? I don't want to be doing green pharma, right, and making you rely on supplements. The goal here is to do the deep healing, do the deep cleanup work, and then allow the body some space to heal, to self-heal. That's one thing I think people should really be aware of, is we all have the innate ability to heal within ourselves. It's always going to be there. It's just we have to tap into it. We have to create the space in our body for it to do so. If our body is fighting a battle, which, your body was doing that, my body was doing that, most people whose health struggling they're going through a battle, right? It makes it very difficult. But, the other question I wanted to ask you in regards to that is like, now that you did this, okay, if you could describe the transformation that you went through by healing your gut and going through gut heal, what would it be?
Oh, it was profound.
Or phrase, it doesn't have to be a word or a phrase. It could be whatever you want it to be.
I feel like profound is a good word. It was profound. It was a profound, life-changing experience, honestly, on so many levels. It wasn't just a physical level. Like, it was a mental, like, emotional, like, even spiritual, I'd say, like, when you heal your body, like, I lived my whole life, even before I struggled with these super challenging issues. I lived my whole life kind of feeling sluggish, lethargic, and like learning what is good for you and how you can make it enjoyable. That was a profound experience. It's almost like I felt like more connected to my body, which obviously helps you mentally and emotionally. And also having your support was nice. Like mentally and emotionally, I knew that everything was going to be okay and I was going to, be taken care of. And you did, till the very end. We went through some challenges and we overcame all of them. And you were super patient, super understanding. You understood there was multiple levels to this. And just having someone there on that level was extremely comforting, a comfort that I had never really felt, because no medical professional really ever brought me relief to these symptoms. Like I keep getting these issues and they may have momentarily solved them when I was a kid and stuff like that, but it was just great knowing that it was actually getting better. And people noticed a difference too. They were like, wow, like, you're kind of like, you're glowing. They noticed that like from the inside out, there was like a huge change, a huge transformation occurring. And when you heal your gut, you heal your life basically, because you get that energy back, that life force back. And hey, it didn't happen overnight, but it happened gradually. And I gained a lot of insight from this. I think that people could learn a lot from you. And I think it's the experience is what you make of it. You know what I mean? But they're still going to feel better, but there's so much insight there. So I just want to touch on that there's so much insight to learn. And I think that I really enjoyed grasping all this knowledge that you had to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super happy to hear that. It's even inspiring to see that you going through this transformation yourself, learning about your health, learning from me, learning the things that we were talking about. It piqued enough curiosity in you to go and start studying this stuff and really becoming your own, your own advocate of, look, I overcame this. I understand what I went through was very troubling and difficult, but I'm inspired now. And that's, like your story is very similar to mine. Like I was sick and I overcame it. And the inspiration of overcoming my illness is what gave me that extra fire. Like it essentially built a passion about, human health and overcoming health challenges. And it's just super, I'm super happy for you. And it's the most, as a practitioner, as a healer, like for me, this is the most powerful result that I could ever ask for, because now not only did you make an impact in your life and change your own personal life, you're going to change other people's lives and you're going to have an impact on many other people. So that for me is really the whole point of this. Like I always feel like I'm kind of just helping a few people, but I don't even realize that by helping ourselves, we then have the knowledge and the ability to potentially help others. And then by helping those other people, well, indirectly you help a whole other network and web of other people that you don't even see, because you relay some information, they relay it to their family and friends, and so on and so forth. So in order to change the collective consciousness and really raise the vibration of this planet when it comes to our human health, this is exactly why I love what I do and why I love helping people like you. And really, at the end of the day, you have to give yourself the credit, because you showed up, you stuck to it, you went through the trials and tribulations that are necessary for a healing journey. This is not just like, hey, let's lose 30 pounds and everything else is fine and dandy. This is like major health issues, major health struggles. You were in and out of hospitals, you had major anxiety, you weren't sleeping, you weren't eating. Like, this is not a light thing. This is not something that you can, hey, just tweak your diet and everything's going to go back to normal. Like, there's layers to this. And, for you, in your case, we really discovered the mold was a big issue. There were other things. We dealt with parasites, we dealt with whatever we had to. But removing the waste, removing the toxic burden is what allowed your body to self-heal. And now, because of that, you're thinking clearer, you're able to act on the things that you want to do because you have that energy. So you're things are just getting started for you, and it's very inspiring to hear that what you've been able to accomplish. Matt, it just warms my heart. It's the most fulfilling thing, and this is why I do what I do. So thank you, Karisma, for that. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, what would you say to someone who's kind of like hesitant to invest in their health, is kind of hesitant to maybe join Gut Heal? What would you tell them to maybe get them moving, or maybe change their perspective on what's going on?
I tell them that it's like, while some people can be really hesitant with programs like this, and I think that I would tell them that they should definitely, it's a lifelong investment. You know what I mean? Like the things that you learn from this program and the things that you go through in this program, like you're going to have higher energy levels. You're going to feel better every single day in your day-to-day life. You know what I mean? You're making this like short-term like investment of your time, your money, you know what I mean? And then you're going to get the benefits for a very, very long time, and always incorporate the knowledge that you learn in your program, because it's not like you just kind of go through a protocol with someone. You also help them every step of the way. You peel so many layers, so I think that it's worth it. It's worth like every minute of it, and it is going to, like, the fruits of this investment are going to just keep coming and coming, and it's never going to stop. You're always going to be able to improve your life with the things you learn in this program. Sorry. But yeah, you're always gonna improve your life. So it's just worth the investment. Go for it. Heal your gut, change your life. Empower yourself and feel great. Like spend the rest of your life feeling great. Why waste our life feeling, average or horrible? Why would you want to wake up every day feeling horrible? Like, it gives you the opportunity to just get healthy and feel good about yourself. So, I encourage everybody to do it. Heal your gut, change your life.
Awesome. Yeah, well said. Honestly, you're preaching to the choir. I get to see this all the time. It's I hope one day this just becomes the mainstream of the mainstream way of doing things. We're just a little bit behind. We're getting there, but I think now people are more open-minded. People are fed up of being failed by the traditional way of doing things. They want to really dig deep, and I think the future is, in a lot of ways, as human beings, we need to become our own best healers. Like we live in this vessel. Like nobody's going to care about it more than us. So the most important thing is learn from people that can get you to where you need to go faster, and execute on the things, slowly but surely. As you start healing, you're going to build up that energy. Like you said, you're going to build up the vitality, and then you're going to be able to accomplish even more things. So health is really foundational to everything, not even, career success, personal success, anything you can imagine. If you don't have health, like it's always going to feel like there's something missing in the picture. So you did it, you're doing it, you did it kind of, almost backwards. Like you went health, and then now you're really open now, because your health is where it needs to be. The world has opened up to you. And, that was the exact same thing that happened to me. That's what happens to majority of people that I work with. It's a journey, it's a process. And the people that really commit to the process and really commit to healing their gut are the ones that are going to overcome, and they're the ones that are going to win in the end. Because, my goal is, I don't like, if I have to see you all the time and I have to, be with you forever, like I'm not doing my job well. Like my goal as a healer is to potentiate your own ability to self-heal. And then once you self-heal, you've built a toolkit. You've built exactly what you need to continue to upkeep that, like you mentioned earlier. So the last couple of questions here. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your journey? Did you cover anything? Is there anything we didn't cover that you want to mention, as a closing note here?
Basically, I feel like I covered most of it, but like, I just wanted to touch on that. Like, you asked if, like, what would I say to someone who would join this program? Like, it's just like, feel good, love your life, and just wake up feeling empowered. Like you really can hear yourself. You did your job so well because you just articulated like everything, your goals, your missions with your clients. And I think that you really did that because it's like I keep learning every single day. It's kind of like I found like a purpose. Like I really value health. You know, I value biology. I value my body. And
Yeah,
that's something that I feel like a lot of people can't say, you know, and it's just, I think it's super beneficial for people to go through this and just kind of realize how magical the body is. Like, you know, every cell is fighting to keep you alive. Like, take good care of yourself. And this course equips you with all the tools that you need to live an empowered life and feel healthy and feel good as long as you get the most out of it, you know, make the most out of it. Just really engage with this program and you know you're going to benefit for a very long time.
amazing. Honestly, couldn't have said it better myself. I really, I could tell you meant what you said because you could feel it's healing is so emotional. It's so raw. It's so it's something that you could almost sometimes it's difficult to describe with words because we talked about it before. There's just so many different layers. It's not just in the physical. It's literally you're going through self-development to overcome your lack of self-development before. Like you have to where you were weak and where you didn't invest, it came up and presented itself in a physical manner in your physical body. But at the end of the day, it's like when we go through this, some of us need this wake up call. I think a lot of us need a wake up call sometimes to just say, hey, like I have to make a change. This is too painful for me to continue this way. So, in closing with all the stuff that you just said, I think one thing that stays true is you need to take your challenge. You need to really take control of this challenge. What you're going through, the health struggles that we all go through, they're challenges that we're supposed to grab by the reins and overcome, not become victims to, not just give up and decide, hey, like this is what I have to do. Oh, I just have to take this pill for the rest of my life. And, even if it's going to be a mediocre, I'm not going to feel great. Well, at least I'm sticking to what I'm being told, and I'm just going to take a pill and do the easy way out. Like, even healing can be, it is going to be a little bit difficult, but it's going to be much easier in the long term to do, bite the bullet and invest in your health and do what's necessary and, invest in your knowledge and understanding what you're going through so that you can overcome it. I think that's the most powerful thing that I try to relay to you guys. Like, because you have the knowledge now, because you can connect the dots, because you can understand what you were struggling with, well, it's like a puzzle that's easier to solve versus, this demoralization campaign where it's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, that, we can't do anything. Here's this pill, rely on this for the rest of your life. Like, that is not how we truly heal. So, you hit the nail on the head. You really said it right. Is it's all about the individual. They got to really just decide this is not for me, and that simple decision that I need to overcome this, and this is not what I want to live, is often more than enough to kind of get the ball rolling. And then if you feel like you need help in it, there's no problem in seeking help. I think that's a big issue a lot of people have too. It's like they're too proud and they want to solve their health, all their struggles on their own. I was one of those people myself. So then at one point I realized, like, hey, I don't know what I don't know. So I need people that know more than me, and I have to get healed, learn from others and develop my own skills. And then from there, you develop the talent to be able to, it's almost like you act like a plumber, right? There's an issue and you know how to clog the pipe and you know how to remove the blockage. It's just, that's how, you almost pick up on patterns. Human health and vitality is all about picking up on patterns, connecting the dots, looking at the big picture when it comes to our health. So with that being said, I think we've covered all the questions. So Karisma, thank you so much for taking some time and just sharing your story. I'm sure many, many people are going to find this very valuable. And I appreciate the time, and I'll be speaking to you soon.
I'm so glad. Thank you, John. Thank you for having me. I'm glad I got to share this with everyone. So
Awesome. I'm happy to. All right. Thanks.
speak to you soon. Take care.